my name is Denise.
And my name is Advocate. This is our final project for Writing 302.
And what we're trying to demonstrate in our final project is the beauty of language. So special thanks to our professors Jose Chueca
and Michelle Pasquier. To see the interviews, just keep
Okay guys, so hi, we're with Professor Jose Chueca. Thank you so much for being part of this video and helping us out with the video. So first I'm gonna ask you some questions and I want to get some opinions and your experiences. So the first question is, could you tell us about your background?
Well, I was born in Lima, Peru. I will not tell you the year. I worked as a journalist before I came to the US.
So when you came to America, did you know English already, or?
Yes, I knew English before I came. I learned English in my school.
Okay. So did you feel a difference while you were switching to your native language? Como si empiezo a hablar en español, ¿sentirías más cómodo?
Sí. ¿Por qué? Porque siento que entonces yo estoy en libertad de hablar en mi idioma. Y en mi idioma yo tengo más capacidades, ¿entiendes? Entonces, ahora, por un lado, yo sé que yo puedo decir mucho más. Lo que yo no sé es cuánto de eso vas a entender tú, ¿me entiendes?
Entiendo.
Entonces, si no es tu lengua, yo puedo decir mucho, pero cuánto de todo esto es lo que tú estás captando, ¿no?
Okay.
Entonces, hay un momento en el cual si tú hablas en español, sí, yo lo siento más como un gesto, ¿ok?
¿Sientes que su personalidad cambie cuando cambies a través de lenguas?
Yo no creo que mi personalidad cambie. I don't think that my personality changes. The difficulties of expressing in a language that it's not your native language. That and the way in which you relate to the different cultural context, maybe what happens is that the subject in question would express different aspects of his or her personality, or will express his or her personality in different ways that he would in his native language context.
Okay.
That would be, that can be a way to rephrase it. But actually, I was proud of myself the first time I was able to make a joke in English, like a joke with a situation, make a joke using, I don't know, the names of the streets and that kind of things, no? So I feel better. I mean, it's a way of making socialization, ¿no es cierto? It's a way to relate with people. I mean, expressing sense of humor.
About how literature loses meaning, or like songs, like, how do you feel about that?
Well, for example, when I read, I found that I prefer to read English things in English, unless we are talking about like Shakespeare, which would be quite difficult.
Right.
I mean, like that type of English, old English, or even, I don't know, the Lord of the Rings English, but I'm not talking about the movie, I'm talking about the books. So that English could be like a bit difficult. But if it's not the case, I would prefer to read the English material in English, in its original language. With a language which is your language, you will establish relations between some way of saying things, or even words. I mean, you will read something and a word will make you think about a situation, a person, a group of persons, a historical situation, a political situation. While English, because it's not your idiom, it's like a bit more neutral, maybe. So at some point it could be an advantage using a language that it's not yours to engage with some type of discourses. That's what I think. I mean, you can use it.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for your time.
Okay.
And it was great of you sharing your thoughts and experiences with us.
Sure.
Thank you so much, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. I would like to interview you about my project with my friend. It is about how there is no exact translation from one language to another, and also how people's personalities and gestures change as they speak from their native language. So, just tell us about who you are, and then what is your background.
Okay, so my name is Michel Pasquier. I teach French at Stony Brook. I taught for over 35 years in high school. I came here when I was 18. I had studied English for 4 years in high school.
Okay, so when you said that you learned English in high school, so what was the process of the learning?
It was very academic. It was just language denuded of any culture, I would say.
Okay, and when you came here, was it the way you expected?
Not at all. I was very unprepared. I could make myself understood, of course. I could ask simple questions or make simple comments, but I lacked the culture reference.
So then you probably had trouble with the humor as well. Because I mean, what I want to ask, was it different in French than it is in English?
Oh, absolutely. I think humor, and even in America, the humor that I was exposed were Jewish humor, because that's the community I lived in, and that's a very specific type of humor. I mean, there are many kind of humors, even in America, and so it would be different at that level, but also from French, yeah.
And well, this topic kind of brings us to the idioms, how like it's different. So I want to know if when you speak French and you want to say an idiom in French, and then when you speak in English, like, is it the same? Like, can you directly say it?
No, of course you can't. So I remember the first time I heard somebody in English saying that it rains cats and dogs. Of course, I translated word for word in French, and it made no sense. I didn't know if they were making fun of me or if I was missing something. But you quickly understand that you can't translate an idiom word for word. It makes no sense. In French, we say "pleut des cordes," it rains ropes. Now, if I said that in English, people would also think it's strange. So just like humor, I think that idiomatic expressions are where a culture shows sometimes value.
Okay, so well, with poetry, when you translate it, well, you can't translate word for word, but when you translate it, does it lose its meaning emotion-wise? Like when you read something in French, say a poem, and then you read the same poem in English, do you feel the same emotions as you do when you read it in French?
No, I think it lacks the music. I think it's very difficult to capture the music of a language, and the play on words, of course. So you lose the rhythm, you lose the playfulness. However hard you attempt, you will get the meanings, but you will not get the music of it.
Okay. Now, I want to ask you, do you feel a difference while you were switching to your native language? Like, si nous parlons en français, vous vous sentez plus à l'aise?
Quand je parle français, je pourrais comparer encore à la musique, comme je le disais avant. Quand je parle anglais, j'ai l'impression que c'est plus du jazz, c'est plus de l'improvisation. En français, ce serait plus de la musique classique. C'est plus organisé, peut-être un peu plus rigide. Alors qu'en anglais, c'est plus improvisé, je pense.
D'accord. Est-ce que vous voulez l'impression que votre personnalité changeait lorsque vous parlez en anglais?
Oui, je pense que quand je parle anglais, je suis plus, comme je disais avant, plus musical, plus peut-être relax. J'ai la chance de parler les deux langues. Elles sont les deux parallèles et riches. Et j'apprécie les deux langues, les deux humours, les deux richesses, culturelles. Mais je ne pourrais pas dire qu'une, j'aime une plus que l'autre. Certainement en littérature, j'apprécie le français peut-être un peu plus parce que j'ai plus de familiarité avec la littérature.
D'accord. Et quelle nouvelle personnalité êtes-vous découvrir? En anglais.
Je sais pas si j'ai découvert une nouvelle personnalité. Quelquefois, j'ai l'impression de vivre entre deux mondes. Quand je suis en Europe, on pense que je suis américain. Quand je suis aux États-Unis, on pense que je suis européen.
Mhm.
So, c'est un monde un peu un monde de voyeur, c'est-à-dire que je ne suis pas complètement, totalement américain. Je suis plus totalement européen. J'ai vécu aux États-Unis plus de 40 ans. So, c'est un monde un peu fluide.
Okay. Okay, well, these are all my questions.
Okay.
Thank you so much for participating in our final project.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
One memory I had, and I don't know if it fits what you're talking about, but I had lived in America for 4 years, and I had not gone back to France. And when I returned, I felt so out of place. I felt like there was something wrong, and I couldn't pinpoint what it was. And I didn't want to go in public, and I didn't understand why. I felt like there was something wrong, and there was obviously nothing wrong. Then I realized what it was. It's when I spoke English, and I told my students, I compare a language to an instrument. So English to me is the bass, string instrument bass. French is cello. So if I consider a spoken language just like an instrument, like when I speak, the language resonates somewhere. So when I speak in French, it resonates in your palate. When you speak in English, it resonates in your chest. Like if I say Robert, Robert sounds in your chest. If you say Robert, is in your palate. And of course, if I speak Italian, I say Don Roberto is in your front teeth, and it kind of exits your mouth. So I realized that having played the bass or speaking English for 4 years, I felt like my instrument was out of tune. Like, how could I retune my instrument? There's no way. It took a few days for me to be reacquainted with the sound and where it felt in the body.
Right.
And that was quite an experience that I heard some other people experienced. If you have been away from a language for a long time, it's, the sound is almost wrong.
Right.
And so I had to adjust by just going in public and hearing it and again speaking it. It didn't take that long, but it felt strange.
Right.
So yes, a language at the most basic level is a different way to play your instrument, right?
Right.
So it resonates somewhere. So when I speak in English, I feel very much it in my chest. When I speak French, I feel it in my palate. So it's going to impact the way, I think, even physically, you stand or, right?
Right, when you speak.
Yeah, if I have to sound in my palate, I might stand straighter. And French people, they have a certain posture. But if I speak English, since it's in my chest, I can kind of be slot down, or I don't know what you say in English, but sitting, more relaxed. But I think the position of the body may have to do with the sound you want to affect.
Mm-hmm.